We are not the enemy of Brexit. Hammond risks Tory split over plans to hike taxes. This came despite more evidence that Britain is booming in the wake of the vote to leave the EU with borrowing. Public sector net borrowing was £5 billion year-on-year in May, down from £7 billion, the lowest since 2005. The speech appeared to confirm concerns raised by fellow Cabinet Minister Boris Johnson that Mr Hammond is the heart of Remain and is trying to undermine Brexit. Speaking to an audience of city executives and bankers including the Governor of Bank of England Mark Carney, who was at the Project Fear campaign, the Chancellor insisted that the Treasury under his watch is not the enemy of Brexit. Mr Hammond was referring to criticism of Treasury mandarins after a flawed and partial economic assessment of Brexit was leaked earlier this year, giving the impression that Britain will be in a worse economic position after Brexit. But, despite claiming he was not the enemy of Brexit, he refused to talk about the NHS increase being funded by the Brexit dividend, instead warning that he will hike taxes. Remainers have been determined to undermine the vote to leave by claiming that the Vote Leave campaign bus message of spending the £350 million sent each week to the EU by Britain on the NHS instead was false. Mr Hammond said, making the NHS our #1 priority in the forthcoming spending review, but, she also confirmed we will stick to our fiscal rules and will continue to reduce debt. So, as the Prime Minister said, taxpayers will have to contribute a bit more, in a fair and balanced way, to support the NHS we all use while delivering on our fiscal commitments. There was also a strong implication that he wants to keep Britain tied to the EU. He said, "Our clear long-term goal is to secure an enduring partnership that reflects the 4.5 decades that the UK has been a member of the EU, that recognizes that our European neighbours are our most important trading partner and that Dover to Calais is the busiest trading corridor in Europe, that our peoples are connected by centuries of shared history and culture, and that the security of our entire continent depends on our shared commitment to defending it, through our collaboration every day on intelligence, counter-terrorism, and defense." The speech came amid a new low in borrowing since 2005, giving the Treasury coffers a major boost in the latest evidence that Britain is prospering as it prepares to leave the EU. The £5 billion figure was lower than economists' forecasts of £6.3 billion and was helped by an increase in receipts, which grew 3%. Borrowing in the current financial year to date was £11.8 billion, a total of £4.1 billion less than in the same period in 2017. The figure is the lowest year-to-date net borrowing since 2007. The ONS also revised down borrowing for the year to the end of March to £39.5 billion from £40.5 billion, the lowest figure in 11 years. Public sector net debt totaled £1.78 trillion at the end of May, equivalent to 85% of gross domestic product.